Howdy hi, I'm John's dad. Welcome back to my video series on planning for and hiking the King's Trail or Kungsleden in northern Sweden. You can find the entire series of videos in this playlist. Last week we hiked from the southern end of Kungsleden in Hemavan, past Vitoskallet, Syter, Säve, and Ammernes, down into Jäckvik to stay at the hostel called Kyrkans Fjällgård. You can easily get to Jäckvik year-round to do out-and-back hikes on local trails. It's a skiing mecca in the winter, too. There's a pizza restaurant that's open only during skiing season. We took a zero in Jäckvik. Lars headed home first by bus and then by train to Gothenburg. In this video, I continue solo from Jäckvik north to Kvikkjokk. On a very personal level, this was the most significant and meaningful section of Kungsleden for me. I was alone in the mountains in bad weather. I thought I was in so far over my head that if I survived, that I would need to quit. My fully loaded backpack was too heavy for me to have any fun, so I gave myself a really strict pack shakedown in Jäckvik. I sent home more than a kilo of gear with Lars. The most egregious was my battery power. I brought twice as much battery power as I needed. After a week, I had used only half of one of the batteries. I was glad to send it home. I woke early and took yet another shower. I ate breakfast quietly and took the trash and recycle out to the garbage shed. It was raining lightly. In fact, this was the lightest it would rain all day. I loaded everything up and woke Lars to let him know I was leaving. His bus was scheduled for 4 hours later. He got to sleep in. Kungsleden followed the edge of the water with lots of turns and ups and downs not apparent from the map. When I reached the first water crossing, there were some German hikers just waking up. They had spent the night in a shelter out of the rain. They helped me get into a rowboat and pushed me off. They watched me for a while to see if I would struggle like the couple from Stockholm who tried to share the rowing duties. Check out my video on Kungsleden water crossings for more details. I made it to the other side without incident. I did not even get my boots wet. After tying up the rowboat, I continued north on a level trail past lots of water features. During my hike today in the rain, I decided that if the weather is good, then I should be hiking. We had beautiful weather on our 0 day in Jäckvik, but I could have been putting large sections of Kungsleden behind me in really nice weather. The Swedish couple's husband's mother was part of the Swedish Foreign Department. He had lived in Washington, D.C. His English was honestly as good as mine. We spoke some Swedish, but it was obviously easier when we both spoke English. I didn't take many pictures because my backpack was sitting by the shore under the roof of a boathouse, and we were waiting on the covered porch of one of the many private cottages uphill. There were people hiding out at the other cottages too. I would meet many of them over the next few days. When the motorboat finally came, we all moved to the water's edge and climbed aboard. It was nice to sit in the warm and dry cabin. I sat next to a clearly exhausted German woman. We paid the fee after disembarking on the north side of the water. We set up our tents in the free area near the water. I started meeting some of the people that I would be crossing paths with over the next couple weeks. Uni and I joined Thomas, Pontus, Annelies, and a couple of her friends from Belgium for dinner. Uni was really hungry and scarfed down most of my moose burger and fries. We went to sleep in the rain. It rained almost all day yesterday. Slight drizzle, sometimes a little heavier. I got to the boat crossing and I was wet from rain, sweat. Waited for a couple hours for the boat, got to sit inside the heated cabin. Slept in my wet tent, wasn't too bad though. And I had dinner, a moose burger, french fries,
Rained all night but stopped about 5. My pack went away wet, but I'm dry and happy. Beautiful views.
I got up shortly after the rain stopped. It would surprise me if anyone heard me leave. It takes a lot longer to pack up silently compared to throwing everything into your backpack. I was really quiet. I walked along with about 5 fishermen who were headed to this wonderful lake that they just had to tell me about over and over again. One of their friends wanted to poop, and they ended up in an argument. He wanted them to continue walking to the lake so that he could poop without the pressure of people standing there waiting for him. They wanted to wait. Finally, I said to one of them, "Show me this lake of yours," and we left the poor guy in peace. The Swedish couple from Stockholm that were in the apartment next to our apartment in Jäckvik passed me at this bridge. That was the last I would see of them as they ran north. They seemed like they were having fun. The Arctic Circle passes just north of Vuonatjviken. I started watching for the sign nailed to a tree. The exhausted German woman from the motorboat was waiting for me just south of the sign so that she could cross it with Uni and me. We took the appropriate pictures. She can hike twice as fast as I can, so when she disappeared up the trail, my assumption was that I would never see her again. It wasn't long before I spotted Caroline, that's her name, talking with a family about halfway up a talus-covered hill. The wife is a train engineer in Switzerland, and the husband is some kind of consultant. They have found that living on long-distance trails half of the year while they rent out their home is best for them economically. Their 3-year-old son is still in diapers and sometimes insists on walking and sometimes insists on being carried. They can never plan their hiking days. The husband thinks it's working out great for the family, and the wife was noticeably silent on the topic. What do you think? Caroline and I hiked together for a while, but her abilities far outlasted mine. I started slowing significantly. The steep downhill you can see on the map transitioned into an undulating surface where the trail goes down sharply a meter and then goes immediately back up. On the map and from a distance, it looks like a flat trail. Pontus caught up to me while I was taking a break at what I now realized was the perfect campsite. We talked about how exhausted I felt, and he pointed to the flat and dry ground at my feet. I rejected the suggestion because I wanted to keep up with the new friends I had made at Vuonatjviken. I finished my beef jerky snack and kept hiking. The next dry spot, big enough for a tent, was 5 miles further up this difficult trail. It was raining hard, the wind was blowing, the trail was full of water, my boots were full of water. I made a mistake with potentially disastrous consequences. What I didn't consider was that there were nice people hiking behind me too. I could have slowed down to be safer and still hiked with friends. I set up my tent here because I could not physically go over the 2 bridges spanning the rapids.
This is where I decided to camp last night. It was raining pretty hard. I didn't feel like crossing 2 bridges in the rain, slippery rocks. And this was the closest flat space. And it wasn't exactly flat either.
I lay awake in my tent until after 11 a.m. I was exhausted. I didn't know if I should or even could continue. People hiking had to detour around my tent because it was partially blocking the trail. I ate 2 meals and lots of snacks in my sleeping bag. Finally, I had to face reality and start another day. Demoralized, disappointed, depressed. Lots of other negative thoughts and emotions. 2 days on Kungsleden, and I had failed. I received an encouraging message on my Garmin from my friend Bill. There's a quote from Sir Edmund Hillary. "It is not the mountain we conquer, but ourselves." My situation was all of my own making. I pushed myself beyond my limits. I'm always learning, and these past 24 hours rank pretty high on the learning scale. As difficult as it was, I packed up like usual and crossed the bridges to the north. This was not an easy hiking day. Uni checked out the mountain whose side we were about to climb. Much of it was steeper than 45 degrees. Each step up was difficult, but I had no choice but to keep going. I took a rest at the top of the climb and turned around to see where I had been. The wind blew strong like always. My confidence was coming back. I was still kicking myself, and I still do a good amount of kicking even today. I was back, though. Gone were the thoughts of quitting. For the most part, I had learned my lesson and learned it well. I was shaken by the ordeal, but I had survived. For now. I met an Australian hiking south about halfway through the day. We chatted for a long time. People asked me over the next couple days if I had met the friendly Australian. I hope people ask the same about me, the friendly American hiking northbound. I won't even try to pronounce the name of the cabin that came into view at least an hour before I came to it. The cabin was on the south side of the river and the camp area was on the north. I set up my tent and crossed back over the bridge to make dinner. Another YouTuber named Ted Wirham came while I was eating the second of my dinners. I linked to his channels in the notes. I had hiked so much more every day than expected that I had too much food. My confidence is returning.
Crossing some mountains and tree area to get to a boat crossing so I can get to Kvikkjokk. Both times are 10:30 and 5:30. I'm not going to make the 10:30. I'll miss it by a half hour. That's okay. This has been a great trail. About probably 3.5 mile an hour trail. A lot of it goes down to about a 1 mile an hour trail too. Well, this was an adventure this morning. I'm going to make it for a 12:30 boat. It isn't here yet. I've got a few minutes. Beautiful path. Was able to do 4 kilometers an hour. Easy. It was great. Met an Irish guy, Slovakia guy, couple of both. I think I met a Swede too, but everybody has learned to say hey hey, and so you don't know where they're really from.
Helena dropped us off at the boat dock. She collected our money and directed us up the hill to the mountain station. Ted and I walked up there and hung out for a while together. Then he had to continue on, and I got to stay there for a couple days. You'll never guess who I ran into. Next week, we're going to Saltolukta.